we're starting filming about midway through their dynamic squat work. And this is the third week of a 3-week wave, and it's a conditioning wave. So the first week they started with 10 sets at 2, then they went to 15, and then this week they're at 20. So it's a hellish week, and their rest periods need to be as close to a minute as possible. So what I'm trying to make sure is that their form stays decent and the rest periods are down, so they're not, I don't know if I want to say cheating, they're not trying to find different ways to slack to make to rest a little bit longer between sets, because 20 sets of 2 dynamic work, it's a hell of a workout. So it's why you need 2 weeks to prepare for it. Their condition, everything they do after this is going to be down compared to the 2 weeks prior, because everything's kind of built into this. This being a conditioning phase, it's the first block that's going to lay the foundation for the next phase, which will either be a strength or hypertrophy phase, really based upon how well they finish this week. So it's how strong they finish the dynamic work they do today, and how their max effort work looks throughout the rest of the week. Right now, being almost 10 sets into it, it's not bad, but a lot of shit can happen within 10 sets. They're not stalling a lot. So now it's a matter of just looking at technical breakdown to make sure, because now is when, if their technique's going to start to break down, it's going to start happening now. The other thing of importance that I didn't know is the weight stays the same for the whole 3 weeks. It's just that the number of sets goes up each week of the phase.
It's the body weight and the fatigue and the fucking...
Yeah, I know, it's all those things. It's just, as soon as I say it, you fix it. So, as he said, his head's pitching forward. There's a lot of factors going on. His body weight's down. He's doing a lot of training right now, which he can explain to you why he's doing that. I just make sure his form's not a complete fucking train wreck, which actually, for the most part, given all the circumstances, it's really, really good, because there's only one thing that's really fucking up.
Like Dave was saying, my head position is something that I need to work on. It's mostly because of upper back fatigue, because I've been doing a lot of conditioning. I'm only lifting, like training 4 days a week, but I've been doing conditioning with a weight vest every day in preparation of, I'm not in yet, but I'm operating under the assumption that I will be hired by the fire department for one of the upcoming classes. So I'm just keeping my conditioning up while still training for Boss of Bosses on August 31st. So just my upper back is pretty sore, so I'm just really have to be cognizant of keeping my head up and my traps tight, especially on low bar squats, because that's the first thing to fail for me. But I'm just doing sets of 5. Just any heavier than that, that's 645. Any heavier than that, and I could grind them out, but I don't want to like accumulate that much fatigue right now. I'm just trying to train a little bit sub-maximally, so I don't like overexert myself too early in the training cycle. So.
There you go.
Keep pulling.
Sit, pause, hit it. Good. The wild card in this whole mix is Joe is on a whole completely different style of program, which he takes care of himself, but we still need to make sure that he's spotted and taken care of, and he's about ready now, which means I'm gonna have to pull some of the people off to be able to spot him so he can get his set done. Again, watch his head, because that's where the problems are. This time I know, so I'm gonna be able to cue it from the very beginning. Everything's set. Easy. There you go. There, keep it there.
Head up, come on.
There you go. Keep the neck back, keep the neck back. There you go. Neck back. Get tight, get reset your brace. Use your head, man. Think. Tight. There it is.
Keep up, head up, come on.
Head up, good. Better brace, better brace. Big brace, air. Drive, 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 drive. Get that. Fatigue's hitting you, man. Set your feet. Lock. Drive. There, that's perfect. Just like that. Good. I want to get her to push her back against her belt. See, when I'm palpitating it, it's making her flex her back. That's just tricking. I need her to push out against the belt with her back. That gives her something to push against back here. Feel that? Make that tight. It's a bracing issue, it's not a back issue. Feel it. Good. Tight. Good. That worked for the second rep, but not the first one. She's not bracing properly is what it comes down to. So not bracing 360. So palpitating definitely helps that. It activates it, teaches her what to do. But you can't beat her with a stick before every set. And we thought shoving something down the back of her belt would give her something to push into. That didn't work.
So what Dave was pointed out, or I don't know how you guys are going to edit it, but he was basically karate chopping her, like hitting Margaret's back with the mace. But it's basically just a proprioceptive thing. So it's a like touching the muscles that are inactive so that they will actually activate. Like if you have a friend, basically, I'm thinking too much. It's essentially, Margaret is bracing, but she's bracing improperly. She's just breathing into her stomach and pushing her gut out against her belt. What happens when you take air in? What happens when you blow a balloon up? It expands in 360 degrees. That's the same thing that's supposed to happen with your diaphragm. It goes out in the front, but it's also supposed to expand and brace the muscles back here. You need to be using your paraspinals, your spinal erectors, those two cords running next to your actual spine to stabilize and brace as well. Margaret is really, really bad at that. So what Dave is doing, he's hitting those muscles. So it's basically, if you were to punch yourself in the gut or hit yourself here, you brace against it. It doesn't stay soft. It's a defense mechanism. He's forcing her body to brace those muscles, so when she's under load, she'll keep them braced. It's basically just a temporary fix right now because he can't karate chop her on meet day. She needs to be able to learn how to do that on her own.
I'm gonna just try to have her wear her belt higher on the next set to see what happens here. All these things that I'm doing right now are just Band-Aids. Last week we discovered that what the major issue was and how to go about fixing it in training. But being that this is a conditioning phase and the weight is really, really light, I don't need to change the weight. I don't need to change anything. It's, I don't want to say impossible, but it's almost impossible for her to get hurt with the weights that she's using. So I can try all these stupid things to see if there's any way to temporarily fix it. Training it properly and doing the right accessory exercises are going to be what the real fix for it is.
Basically what we're going to need to do is because I'm never going to say like don't squat until you fix this, like the whole school of thought, like deload to the bar until you fix your form. That's fucking stupid, because if you can fix it under load, you skip all the corrective exercises. But we'll probably need to have her work on like just basic like planks and bracing against something. Like there's a technique called crocodile breathing. We can show this later, where you lie on the floor and put a weight on the person's spinal erector and have them brace into the weight, and it will actually lift the weight up. It can be a kettlebell or like a dumbbell or anything, but we'll probably just have to have her do those as like a type of activation drill before squatting, and just reps and reps are gonna fix it. But it's one of those things, like if you have improper breathing or inefficient breathing, you're not gonna fix it in one session, because you've been doing it that way for, I don't know how old Margaret is, like mid-20s. You know, you've been doing it for 25 years. It's not gonna go away in 20 minutes. So, something to work on. Hips under, glutes engaged before you even start. Slow pick. Hold, hold, fill. Up. Hold, fill. Up.
Better.
Yeah, it was way better. Yeah. It's just taking your time.
Yeah.
You know what I said in my introduction, now that we're already through half of this, the only thing with the conditioning phase is that I'm interested in the most is the conditioning. I want to see what they look like on their dynamic work after doing 15 to 20 sets, which is kind of, I've already, from the fatigue state that they're at now, I already know where we're going to go with our next training phase. They finished strong, but they didn't finish as strong. They didn't exceed my expectations, which I have expectations that are very high. So I want to take them through another 3-week, not a conditioning block. I think that conditioning wise, they're fine. Keep in mind, they're coming off a block of training where they had no bar in their back or no bar in their hands for close to 8 weeks. So this is kind of a transitional phase. So every goal of the phase has been set. It's just a matter of what phase is going to follow that, where typically it's either going to be a strength phase or it's going to be something that's more hypertrophy based. I'm going to go with something that's going to be more hypertrophy based. That way we can work a little bit more on some of the weak points that I'm seeing. Lily, for instance, during her last couple sets began to fall forward as she typically does when she gets tired, because her weak point is her lower back. I want to spend more time trying to build that up from a muscular standpoint instead of a strength standpoint, which the difference being a strength standpoint is going to be trained with 1, 3, 5 reps, where a muscular standpoint, I actually want to build the muscle. So you can get stronger by using the repetition method, the dynamic effort method, and a max effort method. So a max effort method is going to be heavier weights, straining to be able to learn how to strain to be able to build that strength. The dynamic effort method is producing more force. The repetition method is actually building more muscle. So I want to use this next phase to put more focus on that. So we'll still have dynamic work, we'll still have the max effort work, but it's not going to be pushed to the same extent as what it would be if it was a straight strength phase. That way I have energy reserve to be able to do more hypertrophy work after those exercises are done. So I'm going to be able to basically beat the shit out of them using bodybuilding type methods after their main work for the next, it's probably going to be 3 to 6 weeks before we go into a real focused strength phase, which everything's based upon the strength and weaknesses of the individual lifter first. But if they're all training together and they're all in the same type of environment, they do kind of begin to sync a little bit. So yes, the individual differences are going to be there, but as far as the phasic changes, they can kind of all happen at the same time, unless you get somebody that's thrown in the middle of, you know, of a strength phase or something like that. But they've all been thrown in the very, very beginning of the process. So they can all basically change at the same time moving forward from one phase to the next until I think the earliest meet that we have is October. So I really don't even have to think about any type of peaking at this point. It's just getting them in shape, getting them conditioned, and now being able to put more muscle on them and then take that muscle and make it stronger.